So House of the Dragon Season 2 has finally reached its final episode. And it seems the general consensus on this season's finale and this season in general is that it was a bit slow and that there was sort of a lack of action or actual extremely meaningful plot developments happening going forward, pushing them forward. That's not to say there weren't any extremely important plot developments and character arcs that did happen, but a lot of people seem to generally agree that this season was overall slow. And of course, if you're not familiar with House of the Dragon, it's based on George R.R. Martin's Fire and Blood, which is all about the Targaryen dynasty and the sort of centuries when they were at the height of their power, right before Game of Thrones takes place. So general consensus is that people think Season 2 of House of the Dragon is too slow, and I definitely think in some areas, yes, it was a bit slow. Season 1 and Season 2 both have this, recurring theme in their finale, where it's like, oh, now it's war. Now it's time for war. And then the war will happen next season. That's kind of how the Season 1 finale felt, and that's kind of how the Season 2 finale feels. And the Season 2 finale kind of has a distinct lack of action scenes and, big important battles happening, which are usually reserved for finales or at least, endings of a season. Take, the Battle of Blackwater in Game of Thrones. That was a massive battle at the end of Season 2. The action scene in Episode 4 at the Battle of Rook's Rest felt kind of like how a finale big battle would feel. That being the Battle of Rook's Rest, where the dragons Sunfire, Meleys, and Vhagar all sort of get into a bit of a tussle. And it felt like that action sequence and the cliffhangers it left us with should have been something that happened at the end of a season, not the dead smack in the middle of it. And speaking of the middle of the season, this season was only 8 episodes long, whereas Season 1 of House of the Dragon was 10 episodes. A lot of people sort of agree, and myself included, that if the show had 2 more episodes, then a lot of the plot points that happened during the season probably could have been shortened a little bit to make room for more action-oriented sequences and serious, serious major plot developments to happen in the finale, or at least the final 2 episodes. Season 2 definitely could have benefited from those extra 2 episodes, but I'm pretty sure, if correct me if I'm wrong here, but I'm pretty sure Season 2 of House of the Dragon was affected in some way by the writer's strike. Y'all remember when that was happening? That was such a weird and stupid event, but point is, this was I think House of the Dragon Season 2 was one of the shows affected by said writer's strike. Another complaint I see about Season 2, actually no, I don't want to use the word complaint. Another criticism of House of the Dragon Season 2 that I see is a lot of people think that fan favorite character Daemon Targaryen, portrayed by Matt Smith, who is fantastic, a lot of people seem to have the general criticism that Daemon's character arc and plot in Harrenhal could have been shortened to maybe 2 or 3 episodes. I don't disagree with this notion. I think they could have made this arc smaller and it would still work, but I think the massive build up to the confrontation with Rhaenyra at the very end in the finale, I think that seeing Daemon go through everything he did across the entire season made the overall weight of that so much more impactful. This was a very important plot line to the show, and I feel like giving it that room and that time to breathe and properly flourish and be fleshed out as much as possible, I think that's also a correct move. Yes, you can also make it smaller, and I think it would still carry a lot of weight, but I think giving it more time to be explored and the sort of mysticism and sort of ghostliness of Harrenhal, sort of giving more time to explore all those aspects, I think that was the general better approach, in my opinion. In the finale, Daemon has a vision given to him by, I guess, the old gods, since he puts his hand on a weirwood tree. I guess the old gods gave him the vision, but, Alice Rivers could have, induced him to have the vision. I don't know. Daemon was tripping balls, that's all I know. Man had a vision of the future and saw things like the White Walkers, the battles that were to come. It's implied that he saw where he dies, how he dies, and what he has to do, as well as seeing Daenerys from Game of Thrones with her dragons after they're born, which of course is an extremely significant event. He also sees the comet that follows when they are born, the dragons, I mean. There's a lot of themes and prophecies and just general visions of the future, just all sorts of that sort of stuff in the Game of Thrones and A Song of Ice and Fire universe, and doing prophecy and visions and stuff can be tricky to execute. Which is why I think Daemon being in Harrenhal for as long as he was made this vision and his reactions to it make more sense. So let's say, just for example, we go with the scenario where Daemon's Harrenhal arc only happens across like 3 episodes. So it's like we see like, let's say like 2 to 3 scenes per episode of this arc, and then it's like, oh, okay, so 5 or 6 scenes later he sees a vision, and then all of a sudden he's back completely on Rhaenyra's side, and that's that. I feel like if it happened that way, it would be a lot less impactful, because we also explore a lot of Daemon's personal obstacles and personal flaws, and, you know, his reaction to the vision he saw from the Weirwood tree sort of also... how do I put it? His reaction to the vision shows how he sort of overcome some of his flaws and previous desires. So while I've seen some skepticism around the vision itself and the details within it, I think overall the reaction from Daemon to the vision was well executed because of the immense build-up to said reaction and the vision itself. And, you know, the scene between Rhaenyra and Daemon was very, very good. It's like, you know, Daemon still seemed to hesitate just a tiny little bit about who his army really belonged to, but I had faith, and that faith was rewarded with Daemon staying loyal to Rhaenyra and not trying to take the throne for himself. So he has absolutely changed as a character, and that little exchange they had in High Valyrian was like both cute and like a bit like, ooh, okay. And continuing on with revelations and character arcs and character changes and just sort of their actions based on what has happened. Of all people, Alicent Hightower sneaks into Dragonstone, kind of like how Rhaenyra snuck into King's Landing a few episodes prior. And my first thought is, what the hell are you doing here, Alicent? She essentially comes there to be like, hey, here's what's currently happening. I'll roll out the red carpet for you if you just let me and my daughter live. And she also tries to argue for Aegon to live after he got burned at the Battle of Rook's Rest. And honestly, Rhaenyra's reaction of, so you still want it all, you still want everything to be fine and everything the way you want it, like, totally justified. Completely justified. Overall, I did like this scene. My biggest problem with it, and I feel like this sort of criticism I'm about to give sort of encapsulates the general consensus about the show being slow. A lot of the silences, like after one of either Rhaenyra or Alicent says something, a lot of the silences between them felt like they kind of droned on longer than necessary. I'm pretty sure in Fire and Blood, Alicent doesn't sort of turn against the Greens and feeds information to Rhaenyra in the scene. I'm pretty sure that is a change they made for the sake of the show. And, you know, I think it's a fine change. I think it's fine because it sort of parallels that scene when Rhaenyra sought out Alicent to try and make peace, and now Alicent is trying to find Rhaenyra to make peace, but she doesn't do a fantastic job of it. She agrees, but, you know, extremely begrudgingly and, you know, not happy about it, because Alicent understands that in order for Rhaenyra to solidify her rule, she has to take Aegon's head and present it to literally everyone. But at the very least, Alicent has at least bargained for Helena's life, and I think out of everybody in King's Landing, Helena is the one person whose life is worth saving and not having her head chopped off, because she's a very nice and sweet person. She can also see the future, which we'll get into later. And speaking of the Greens, let's talk about Aemond for a little bit. So, Aemond is pretty mad that Rhaenyra has found new riders, and he's felt fear. He has felt genuine fear after flying to Dragonstone and seeing how many dragons Rhaenyra has now. So, man decides to burn down, I forget the name of the town, but he burns down some town, killing thousands in the process to sort of reassure himself of his own insecurities and fears. And of course, Aemond has to respond in kind to Rhaenyra getting new dragon riders. So he's like, okay, sis, Helena, you're gonna come ride with me into battle on your dragon Dreamfire, and I don't want to hear any complaints about it. Now, Helena is not a fighter. She doesn't want to burn people, and she doesn't think it's the right way to do anything. So obviously, Aemond is mad and continues trying to force her. Luckily, Alicent is there to sort of put a mirror in Aemond's face and being like, what are you doing, my son? Look at yourself. This is not right. This is not the right way to do it. And, you know, Aemond tries to tell his mother, like, this isn't just about winning a war anymore. This is about, you know, our lives, like, staying alive. And he asks his mother, Alicent, if, you know, is it really worth it? Like, you know, this is what needs to be done for the sake of our lives. And Alicent is like, no, this is not the right way to do it. This is the wrong way to do it. Innocents dying in firestorms from dragons is not the way to accomplish survival. And she's absolutely correct. Thousands shouldn't have to die so the few can live. 100% agree with her on that. And later in the finale, Helena is out on a balcony, just sort of looking at the stars, just looking at everything and just general doing Helena things and just sort of not being social at all. And as she's gazing out, Aemond comes up to her and is like, hey, listen, I gave you a command as Prince Regent, and I'm also trying to get you to help me protect the realm. You refused, and my mother helped you refuse, and that's treason, and I could have you killed. And Helena's pretty much like, yeah, it doesn't matter if you kill me. You can go ahead and kill me, but even if you do, it doesn't matter because you're going to be, and I quote, swallowed up by the god's eye. And in Blood and Fire, Aemond and Vhagar die whilst fighting Daemon and Caraxes above a lake called the God's Eye, so Helena has seen how Aemond is going to die. Helena's ability to see the future isn't it's not explored too much in the show. It's alluded to and sort of foreshadowed a little bit here and there, and, it's very obvious that Helena is a very strange individual and just sort of doesn't really fit in. I mean, she'd rather play with bugs than, bond with her dragon. So it's a bit it's a bit obvious that, there's something off about her, but in the books she does have the ability to see the future, and that's also present in the show. So makes sense that she was able to see Aemon's sort of death. Meanwhile, on the opposite end of the spectrum, Alice Rivers, the witch in Harrenhal, tells Daemon that, you know what your role is to play. You know what role you have to play, and part you have to play in this war. And I'm pretty confident that Alice is alluding to the fact that Daemon will have to confront Aemond. So, even though this season was slow in terms of action and, general things moving forward, again, the Battle of Rook's Rest was kind of the biggest action sequence in the whole show. But overall, the season 2 of House of the Dragon kind of lacked a lot of action, which, I sympathize with because, obviously, dragon scenes, pretty much any scene with the dragons costs an arm and a leg, so I get that there can't be a big major dance of dragons every single episode. However, I also completely understand the sentiment that, season 1 should have sort of been the setup, and it does feel like a setup to bigger and better things, and then season 2 feels like, there are, some big things, but it still feels like mostly setup and build up for future big things. So I totally get where the fan base and a general amount of the fan base is coming from, because a lot of fans still enjoyed season 2, and I still enjoyed season 2, but I saw this tweet in an article, I'll see if I can find it, but I saw this tweet in an article saying that, season 2 of House of the Dragon's finale was just as bad as Game of Thrones finale in season 8, and I don't think it's anywhere near that bad. I mean, come on, I don't think anything even compares to that. So the hope is that a lot of the action and a lot of the major character deaths that that happen in Fire and Blood are going to be happening in season 3, hopefully, because the only real major character deaths that sort of happened in season 2 was Rhaenys at the Battle of Rook's Rest, almost Aegon, which was very close. His dragon Sunfire is probably dead. I don't know if in the books Sunfire survives, but I feel bad for the dragons, man. I feel so bad for them. They get pushed around and used as weapons, and they have to kill each other, and they probably don't want to, except Vhagar, maybe. No. Point is, this season felt like, again, just like a lot of build-up with not too much of it sort of, we haven't reached the payoff yet, and that's kind of how season 1 felt, which it makes sense for season 1 of a show to do that, but second season, some bigger events should happen, and some bigger events did happen, just not nearly as many as, any fan base would expect. So to sum up my thoughts and sort of come to a general conclusion here, so I don't sound like I'm ranting about absolutely nothing, is House of the Dragon Season 2 slow? Yes, it is. Is that slowness necessarily a bad thing? No, I don't think the slowness is necessarily bad. In some cases, I think it's a bit iffy and not too amazingly executed. However, I feel like for the most part, the slowness of Season 2, because of how significant some of the character plots were, was genuinely necessary to sort of get them fleshed out as much as possible. So if I were to rate season 2 and its finale on an overall scale of like 1 to 10, I'd probably give it like maybe a 7.5, maybe closer to that of like an 8, maybe, but I'm gonna say 7.5 because I liked it. I don't know if I loved it. There were character moments I really loved, like Oscar Tully sort of giving the middle finger to Daemon and basically being like, hey man, you messed up and you gotta answer for your crimes. That scene blew me away. That was probably one of the best scenes in the whole season. But, you know, I'd say I like it. I don't know if I want to say I love it. I thoroughly enjoyed it, but I don't know if love is the word I'd use to describe season 2. But there were some pretty funny moments with the dragons, and that can always kind of win me over. Like when Sea Smoke chased down Adam, and I saw this really funny video of someone subtitling over Sea Smoke, where he's like, that's not Laenor, but he'll do. And it's like, hey, you want to be my rider friend? And it was just, I loved it. You see, stuff like that, I love it. If you made it to the end of this video and you have no idea what I'm talking about and haven't watched House of the Dragon or Game of Thrones, congratulations. You just watched a whole video about something you don't know anything about and never did, and maybe never will, but I don't know. That's up to you. So congratulations to you. Secondly, if you want to see me talk more about House of the Dragon and sort of some of the more really like, well, the more notable scenes and more notable points of the season, then, you know, please let me know in the comments. I would love to talk more about House of the Dragon and just the whole Song of Ice and Fire universe in general. It's just so fun to talk about, and it's just so enjoyable. And if you like my content and my general style of how I talk about things and how I try not to sound like a fool, even though I definitely do, then please consider dropping a sub. I'd really appreciate it. We're almost at 6K, and I'd love to hit that goal before August is over. It'd be amazing to hit 6,000 by the end of August. And man, the channel growth recently has been like so amazing, and I'm so grateful to all of you. Thank you all so much. And if you want to show me a little bit of extra support, I cannot stress the importance of channel memberships. Please consider becoming a channel member if you want to really support me, because not only do you get a whole bunch of cool rewards that you can read about, but it also directly supports me, and I would genuinely appreciate that if you can give and if you want to. TLDR, give me money. But that's where I'm gonna round things out for now. Thank you so much for watching, and yeah, have a good day, everyone.